It's 12 o'clock in Frisco, Texas, and it's time for Smoker Broker Radio with Robert Meche, a.k.a. the Smoker Broker. Robert is the owner of Small World Realty and has employed hundreds of real estate agents in his 17-year career. He has instructed and mentored over 10,000 real estate agents at the highly acclaimed Champions School of Real Estate and is considered an expert in Texas residential realty. Robert is also an advocate of true entrepreneurial spirit and has helped many to transition from corporate America into the world of self-employment. And now live from the studio to your world, the Smoker Broker.
Hey, welcome to Smoker Broker. I'm Robert Meche, and I am the guy they call Smoker Broker. Very hard to find a real estate guy and a barbecue guy, and they do both. I've been doing both of them for a long time. Speaking of barbecue, I love Thanksgiving. I love the holiday time. Thanksgiving, Christmas, all the, you start getting into where you have a little bit of time off and, you start maybe experimenting, cooking different things. I get lots of texts with, what do you do with your turkey? What do you do? Do you only do turkey? We might actually even talk about it today on some of the show. I don't talk too much about barbecue anymore on the show because we are focused on real estate, but we might actually talk about some today just because, we are getting close. We're on that week away from Thanksgiving. I even know, Brent's on the call today, as he always is, and he was asking about, rib roast this morning. So we might even talk to him, might even help him out a little bit as he's getting ready to go through that. Happy Thursday. Hope everything's going well. Appreciate everybody who watches coast to coast, especially here in the state of Texas. Continue to appreciate all the views that we get. We're definitely averaging close to 700 to 1,000 views the last few shows. And that is so greatly appreciated when, we're trying to build a base of people that watch the show on a weekly basis. And it's helpful to them. And that's what we see when we see that many views. We saw a lot of attention on our episode about not quitting. As you get towards the end of the year as a real estate agent, we've had a lot of people take us up on, hey, we have that problem too. We want to share the video. We want them to watch it. So I appreciate everybody who watched through that because that is a good one and it's relevant to this time of the year. So appreciate all the shows. Hey, Brent, before I forget, I don't think I have our new sponsors stuff in front of me. So when we get to the sponsor, I want you to do that.
That's great. Our new sponsor just sent me a couple of days ago.
So I'm sitting there and I've got all my stuff down and I always have my normal script.
No, that's my fault.
I don't have the new sponsor stuff.
All right.
So when we get to that, don't let me forget that you do that for me. So that'll help me out. So, like I said, we are getting through, starting to push through to the. Oh, and actually, before I forget too, if those guys are hammering too much back in there, I'm going to mute it and take over for me until because they're doing some loud stuff back there today. So, if that happens, just kind of jump in, and I'll get back in as soon as it subsides back in there. For
those of you who don't know, they're putting the helicopter landing pad on.
Yeah, helicopter, right? Yeah, it would be like a remote helicopter, the little toy one that flies up and down. So we are trying to build a studio, though, so we finally don't have to deal with interruptions when we are doing this stuff from home. But anyways, keep that in mind as we do that. So like I said, we are going through the holidays right now, special time frames as we are continuing to get rid of this most horrific year, not for real estate purposes, but in general, just a terrible year and trying to get past it. It is very hard to be having the holiday discussion. The last few weeks, there's been a lot of up in the air talks about what are we going to do. What do the holidays look like? And I have to admit, for being a pretty positive guy, I was getting pretty dismal listening to every day how worse that conversation is becoming as to what the officials are telling us what to do. Not just the ho-hum or the opinions. Now we're hearing in certain states that they don't want any more than 6 people at the table. That's the first time the federal government has stepped out and said, hey, maybe, or not the federal, the state governments have actually intertwined and said what you can do in your personal life. That's interesting. First of all, it won't be abided anyways. So I don't know why they said it, but it's funny that that's what they're suggesting. There's other states that are doing if you've, if it's more than 10, they will not allow more than 10 people inside the house if they don't all live together. I don't know how they plan on enforcing anything like that, but it is interesting to see the routes they're taking to put what they believe has to be a stop to the spread of this virus. Whether it's right or wrong, or whether you believe what they're doing, it is interesting that we are dealing with that. It does affect all of us. And we are seeing family members say, you know what, I think I'm just going to call it quits for this year. I'm not going to do anything. We've seen it in our family, which is strange for a family like ours that really is not too bothered by many things. We're seeing it. It's blatant. So it's kind of dismal. I really thought we were going to avoid this after we got past the summer and we started accepting what was going on, and we figured out that, hey, look, this is just, we're going to have to deal with this. But now it's not just that. It's we're in it, and they've got bigger issues. I will say this, and it's straight up opinion, and it's not politically motivated, and it's not meant to be insensitive to anybody who has been affected by COVID. Their family's been affected by COVID, death by COVID. We've had it. We've had close friends that have had it. We've had close friends that have had relatives that passed. There is nobody that's more sorrowful right now than me when it comes to what COVID has done. But I do mean, with that same comment, this stuff about continuing to marvel at the number of 250,000 people, in no shape or form, believe me, I get that number is horrible, and we should have never even been anything close to that. But don't ever forget, that many people probably died last night of heart attacks. That many people right now are fighting cancer and die past cancer. Those numbers are well past a 250,000 count. So, I'm not demeaning any of those numbers at all, but to sit there and make the American public be in fear by constantly throwing that number out there and saying that it's going to get worse, it always is worse for us. We always have health issues of this magnitude. And it doesn't mean that COVID's a new thing that's come in, and it does affect certain people differently. But God, to sit there and constantly tell people that the world's ending, it's hard. It's very hard to accept, because look, no matter what your opinion is on how COVID health-wise is affected or how we have to handle it, there's the other side of it too. The economic side of it is just as dangerous.
Maybe
in fact,
more.
I could argue that it might be more dangerous for some people, because their health is much more affected by what happens financially to them, by the things we just mentioned, going back into other health issues, stress levels, heart attack, all that type of stuff. It's not just one-sided. And I am surprised that we're back at this just constant marvel of that number. And again, that's not demeaning anything. I'm just as serious about COVID as anybody. But God, I can't believe we're almost in 8 or 9 months of this. And now we're back to, look, it's just going to continue to be this horribleness where it's like, it is horrible, but so is everything else that we do. It's a tough world. We live in a hard world. It's nothing that's, these aren't, we don't wake up every morning and go, yay! It's a tough world. And the stronger ones do get up and say, yeah, that sucks, but I'm going to move on, and I'm going to keep on doing what I can do to the best of my ability. And the problem right now is the best of the ability is hard to do with some of the restraints in place. Now they're talking about going back into closing the businesses again. I thought we messed up the first time we did that.
Abbott just said yesterday he's not going to shut down anything.
Yes, Texas isn't. A couple of the other states said that they weren't going to do it either. I'm sure some of our viewers are like, that's wrong. I'm sure some of our viewers like, fantastic. No matter what we say, it's contested. But in the general rule of what we're doing, the things that we're doing, you can only save so much by how we're pushing this stuff through. And it is amazing. And that's the point I'm making today. It's amazing that is still the general perception that is what we should do, because it didn't work the last time. Okay. And if anything, the restrictions are better in place because more people do adhere to the mask, do adhere to the distancing. Yes, I do still see the get-togethers in the party. In fact, Brent and I were at one last week where I actually made a comment. I'm like, I'm surprised that many people are in this location right now that don't have masks on. And I was very surprised by it, because I said to myself, I go, that's just a tad ridiculous. with what's going on. So I get that part of it.
That's not true. You had glow sticks and you were in there mingling
Not
with
true. It's completely not true. I was like on the far opposite side of where that was. So it's out there. We're continuing to deal with it. I continue to preach the same thing. You should hear by the rules, keep distant from everybody, try not to be in massively large groups. But I tell you, I was in the beginning and I'm still an advocate against it. It's my show, so I can say what I want, my opinion, even if it kind of rubs some people the wrong way. But this shutting down, I don't think that's going to solve anything. I don't. And if you're that concerned about it and where you're at, then you should not go to those types of businesses if you feel like you're susceptible or it's going to be a hardship on anybody, or that you have family members who are at risk. So I had a really long-time friend that I saw last week, and that'll show you how far my range is with this. He had his mother-in-law is at risk, very bad cancer, lots of chemotherapy right now. It's very, very high risk. And I was very respectful of him. And that's not something I'm mocking. I love him. He's like a brother to me. He was very, hey, look, I'm staying this far away. I'm like, hey, I'm right there with you. Because there are exceptions to look. This person right here is saying, I've got to be careful. We're talking about the general people out there just saying, no, I'm going to do this or I'm not going to. There's a difference depending on who you're talking with and where you're talking to them. So tough line for us to follow. It does affect us in real estate. We do have people that put their plans on pause because they're trying to look at what happened. It is nice that the election is out of the way. Well, I guess it's out of the way. I still hear good friends saying, well, I'm hoping the election still can be turned the other way. I don't think it's going back. I think they pretty much laid out what's going to happen here. But I still have some very intelligent friends that are still like, oh, no, it's not done yet. I'm like, okay, I guess. So I'm going to say I think we're past at least that. So that's one less thing we're really having to focus in on as far as people making long-term decisions. But, COVID's still out there and still affecting what we do. And we're still having to plan accordingly. So nothing's changing there, still out there. The vaccine continues to be an interesting conversation. Positive news this week. I think I said it last week, but there was more news this week again. I told our crew that a couple days ago. If you do want to find a silver lining, they're saying the vaccines are 94 to 95% effective. That's pretty damn good. I would have gone with 70%, so who knows if they're lying? Who knows if they're telling the truth? But if they're lying, they sure are lying in the correct way, because 94 to 95%, that is something that's very comforting that maybe they have figured out that they can.
That's a lot more effective than I am.
What's that?
It's a lot more effective than I am.
Sure, yeah. Brent's not near 94%.
No.
65 maybe. Best.
Maybe.
Best. Which I'll take, So you got the percentages out there, and we'll see. The next question becomes how quick can they get it out? Who does it go to? That's going to be another fight, I'm sure, about who's supposed to get it, who's not supposed to get it. Do I take it? Do I not take it? But the fact remains that it is out there. And I did tell the crew, again, if you want to look at silver lining, how amazing is it that most of the vaccines in the history of this world took anywhere no less than short of 5 to 10 to 15 years to create. And now we've gotten to where we have so many intelligent people that they can break down what was considered the scariest virus in modern times. And here they are a year later, and they think they're able to map it out. Almost makes you wonder how they can't fix the other things too, if you're a conspiracy type of theorist or anything like that. But that's another show, and not for this one. That gets way too out of line. You start talking about stuff like that. What I am going to talk about today, and I'm excited about, because we always talk about, hardcore real estate. This is what you do. This is what you don't do. And those are great. Those are effective, and that's why people watch the show. But Brent and I were talking about it, and we were like, we need to start getting some of the crew on and talking about what their position is compared to others out in the industry, because we think that people can learn from the people that we bring in and what stage they're at, whether they're a veteran agent, whether they're a rookie agent, whether they're a rookie and they haven't done anything, whether they're a rookie and they've already established themselves and they're already moving up. We started saying we need to bring these guys in and start talking to them. And, the guy we have today, I'm just super high on. I was high on him from the beginning when I first met him. I love the fact that he originally went somewhere else, which I thought was great, because he did that he's an honorable guy, and he did it for family reasons. And I think that just speaks so well of him, because I think he really wanted to go with us in the beginning. But I love that he did it. He gave it his best effort. He didn't necessarily think it was the right type of fit for him. And then he eventually came into our organizations, which I am selfish about because I wanted him from the beginning. I knew he had the goods. I'm usually pretty good at reading what the talent is. I knew he had the goods, and here we are. I'm going to say this wrong, Blake, because it's probably been more than 6 or 7 months or so. I hope it hadn't been a year yet. It might have been, but it's close to whatever. But he's already established himself. Everybody who knows me, I'm very pessimistic when it comes to an agent's first year. I make no qualms about it, and I'm telling everybody that's listening right now, most people who are in their first year or two, it is very difficult for them. Most people do not kill it. Right? Most people barely sell 4 or 5 houses, and their pipeline isn't that much better until another 2 or 3 years out. I am very, historically, I tell every single agent that because 99% of them follow that track, except that guy, because he has already developed those sales well beyond what Brent and I already did in that short time. And it's not, and we're going to talk about this. Blake hasn't sold like 30 or 40 properties yet. And I mean yet. But it's his speed as to how he's done it. But more impressive, and really why he's on the show today, is his systems are in place to where he already has the avenues ready to go get the rest of them and start building. And that's something that a lot of new agents don't do very well. So I want to first introduce Blake Sims down there. He's our buddy down there. He's a great real estate agent, up and coming, more so than a lot of other agents out there. Just a fantastic guy, too. Anybody who's watching him, anybody knows his family, anybody knows him personally, there's not one person in the world that's going to say, that guy's a jerk. I always knew he'd never make it, So he's the epitome of what we want in our agents. What's that, Brent?
That's what you said about me.
I did. And as much as I hate to say it, it's still true.
Brent
is as much crap as we give Brent is the poster child man that we want to be in for a poster child man, woman, whatever. He's the poster child type of agent that we want to really script through, and we bring him in. And Blake has a lot of characteristics that Brent does, and number one, and it's huge, it's attitude, because he's got a super attitude. He's positive about everything, and he's sharp as a razor. Brent too, and that's what we look for in the SWR group at Keller Williams. We want the talent that is outgoing, that's smart, that's savvy, and Blake exemplifies all these. So Blake, it's great to have you, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
Talking with you. I love our conversations all the time. I don't think there's ever a time where we're talking that I'm like, that was a waste. I don't know why we had to go through and do this. Blake, I want you to tell them where you're from, how long you've been in Texas. Tell them what it is that you do for a living, because you have more of an interesting job than most. Let them know a little bit about you.
Well, I've always lived in Texas. I grew up here in Rowlett, which I'm sure a lot of people know where it's at, but maybe not some. It's about 20 minutes east of downtown Dallas. So pretty much just always say I'm from Dallas like everybody else. But I, for the last few years, actually was kind of remodeling homes and working on fences and, indoor-outdoor projects, and just I've always kind of entertained the idea of being a realtor, and kind of just decided to pull the trigger on that. Since 2014, I've been pretty heavily involved in umpiring baseball at the college and professional level. So got to go all around the country, see a bunch of the country and get paid to do it, which is, in my opinion, pretty cool. But I kind of was looking for something that I could do with that. They kind of go hand in hand with each other. They're both, pretty flexible. I can kind of decide my own schedule in both of those a lot of times. So really they kind of complement each other well. And I've, just kind of decided to go all in on real estate. And
so he couldn't say that any better. There's a couple things you had to catch with what he said. One of the first things we're going to emphasize with Blake, and it's bias because it's something that we preach a lot, but he's proving it to most people, so do a lot of our agents. But we're big in the SWR group at Keller Williams, especially me. I'm big on people who, and I'm not going to call Blake part-time because he's really not. Blake's not a part-time agent. Blake's full-time. Blake's always talking about real estate. his clients, they know he's full-time. He does have another job, but honestly, he is not a part-time agent. He's always
seasonal job.
Say that again?
Seasonal job. Yeah.
Seasonal job, yes. Even in the season, though, same thing, though. He's still doing real estate, but that's the point. We're big on dual careers. We're big on it because we know that they can be done. We know that someone like Blake can be very successful doing real estate, but he can also do any other job that he wants, especially if it's a seasonal job. You know, another point we like to make in a lot of the real estate agents that are up and coming, service field real estate agents tend to do very well. You know, Blake talked about being an umpire, very people oriented, knows a lot of people. You know, teachers, people in the health, the health, like well-being healthcare, like hairstylists, all these people who are out and about. You know, public servants such as the police officers, firemen. These people make very good real estate agents because of their personality. And Blake has an interesting one in the fact that his isn't one of those as much as it is a different type of personal interaction from an umpire side, and a higher level one. You know, he's not talking about doing the umpire at the little league, although I'm sure he does that too. He's talking about the high end. He's talking about the guys that it makes a difference in living, what he calls. So his stress level is not the normal, oh, you're an umpire, how great. His stress level is more of the, hey, I have to get this right. You know, I'll ask you a personal question, Blake, because I've always wondered it myself, especially in recent years. You know, they finally, after years and years of debate, they finally at the professional level and the collegiate level, I think, I can't remember. I know for professional for sure, they finally started going to the cameras on the strike zones, and they finally started saying that, hey, you're wrong, and I can prove it, and I'm going to do it. I want to know from your side of it, I want a true answer as to what you think. How do you feel about the actual automated that they can say, look, you're wrong, you're not right. What do you think about it?
Hey, let them do it. If they want to argue with a computer, like that's on them. Like it takes the argument out of the game. But no, I think they've made some good changes. I think they tested the strike zone thing in an independent league, which actually I've worked for that league before, and I think people saw from just the videos that it was really not as successful as they were thinking it was going to be.
Yeah.
So. I mean, maybe with some, tweaking, maybe they can get it there. But I don't think anybody was really pleased with that, especially not batters, because it was really grabbing some pretty crazy pitches on guys, and it was just, not great. So
I don't think anybody argues it is almost humanly impossible to get it right at those speeds. I mean, you've got people that are throwing well over 90 miles an hour. Hell, I'd argue 80 to 70 miles an hour is hard enough to say, hey, look, did that thing come in right? And so I've always been conflicted with this. I'm of the opinion that, like, well, look, if it does it right, it does it right. That's the way it's supposed to be. But then you start changing the history of the game that, well, it hasn't been like that the entire time. So what do we do with, greats like Pete Rose, who literally hit everything in their sight? How much better is Pete if the strike zones were more accurate? How many walks does he not have, or does he have? You start taking away from a little bit of the game, and I just don't know how far we go technology-wise. Now, am I of the opinion on blatant misses, like where you're like, man, I don't know what you were looking at, but that thing almost hit him in the head?
Yeah.
I'm a fan of that. I am.
Sure. Yeah, it happens.
That's what they're trying to do. I think they're trying to just get the, oh, man, you're not even close. Yeah. But it's like you said, some of the ineffectiveness has been, now if it's even close, I'm like, hey, that's not what they didn't design that thing for. That wasn't designed to start questioning every time the ball's coming in at 95 miles an hour. I mean, how is he always going to have it right on the money? So that's interesting. I knew you'd say that too. I knew you'd have the gracious, hey, look, let them do what they want. That's fine. I want to get it right too. But I always from a true umpire standpoint, how they felt about that.
That's definitely every umpire's goal is to just, get it right. Like, There's been definite times where, I kicked a call and got with my partners and, I was just like, hey, tell me what you got. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like, let's fix this.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't care.
That's no different in the business that we do. I don't want somebody, if I got it wrong, tell me.
Absolutely.
I don't continue to do it wrong. And I've got no pride in me. If someone says you did it wrong, I'm like, hey, if you're right, good. Fine by me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna get booed. I get booed either way, so it doesn't matter really. Someone's gonna boo me no matter what the call is. I learned that pretty early. So
there are some people in my lives that they think that I don't necessarily want to be told wrong, or they think that I have an attitude that I don't like being addressed as wrong. You're full of it. I'm the first one right now. Look, if I'm wrong, I'm telling you. I want to know. I don't want to look like the idiot out there that doesn't have it right. Now I will tell you, I do strive to make sure I'm not wrong.
Yes,
it does irritate some of those people that I try very hard not to be. But man, if I'm wrong, and that's why I love having these conversations, because they do relate to industry. Those of you who think we're just babbling about baseball in general, that's not true, because these same mentalities fall into the day-to-day business. It's just like when we get into a tiff with another real estate agent. Some people think that we're out there just trying to be nasty or arguing. I'm trying to get it right. I don't care what happens with it. I just want to make sure that we're right. Which one was, I want to make sure it's right. So if I'm arguing with you, I'm not trying to say I know it's me. I'm saying, do we have it right? I go, don't take this as a negative. We got to make it right. So I loved how you talked about your calls when you go over there like, hey, man, did I miss it or what?
Yeah.
I don't care if I did. I just want to make sure that we get the thing right in the end. And I think if everybody had that mentality, we'd be a lot better off in a lot of things that we do and execute. So it does matter. It does relate to how we do business. So Blake talked about how he got into it. He kind of just mentioned more, hey, look, I wanted to have something else. I want to have something else out there. Brent and I are huge on backup plans. And Brent and I, not backup, multiple income streams. Brent and I are huge on multiple income streams. I tell a lot of people this, and it's a very, very true statement. SWR was created as a multiple income stream. It was created to make sure I had a backup in case I wasn't producing very good when we originally started years ago. Because when the market was like doing this, I was like, oh, I better have a backup. I need to have people that work with me just in case I'm not doing bad, they're doing good. It balances. Well, obviously SWR became very successful and became a very strong real estate firm in the country, but it still was built as a multiple income stream and as an alternative. And Blake is no different than anybody else who's entrepreneurial and motivated. They know that no matter where they're at, there's always something better, and there always should be something else that they're pursuing. I'm not the biggest fan of doing one thing and one thing only from a work perspective. That's very difficult to think you've got what you're doing the rest of your life right here, and it's right in your cradle, and that's the way it's going to be. I don't believe that, and I think that everybody should be looking at an alternative. Blake's the first one to tell you he's not doing this so he can get out of umpiring. He actually enjoys the umpiring, but is there a possibility at some point that's what he does? Sure. And I can tell you on the side, I already know he's going to. No matter who he's employed by from an umpire standpoint, the guy's a good real estate agent. You're going to lose him at some point. He's just too good. So whoever he's employed by, he's just too good at what he does. But as long as you can keep him, you're lucky too, because it's good to have that type of assets in your work atmosphere or whatever you're doing in there. Brent, let's ask him. Let's talk to him about some questions you have for him. Kind of hitting I struggle calling Blake new, because I think that's insulting to him and what he's already done. Just so anybody out there that watches knows, our guys, they go through long, intensive conversations with us as they get up and going. They don't just do this on their own. They don't draft their contracts on their own. They don't analyze it on their own. We let them do it, but we'll go in there and say, that is not how you're supposed to do that. Of course, if you have more business, you're spending more time with someone like me or Brent and us pointing out. And that's obviously what we've had with Blake. So it's hard to say that he's new, because he's already at a point where he already knows what's right and wrong. Most of the time when Blake sends something into us, we're like, well, yeah, he already knows. That's not the way it goes. So it's hard to call him new. But industry-wide, he's a fairly new guy. Now, I also want to put a staple on any of Blake's clients that happen to watch this. Don't ever mistake the fact that he's only done this for a little while, or that we're even put him in that rookie phase or whatever. He's beyond that, because first of all of our agents don't fall into that, because they still have to go through one of us to do your deal. So anything legal, from contractual or overview or analysis, that all comes from us and our agent too, but we're the ones who sign off on that. So you can sit there and say someone's new. They're only new by perspective as they haven't done this as long, but they're still going through an experienced time frame where everybody else is saying that's the way it is. But he is the one that typically is learning from that. So to sit there and suggest that he's new is, first of all, ridiculous. Any client that's out there that's going to be a client of Blake's, they're very fortunate to have him. And anybody who knows Blake knows that. They're fortunate to have him because he's that good. He's that good at what he does. I have him personally forecasted beyond probably what he thinks he's going to be forecasted in 2 or 3 years. And that's not something we say about all of our agents. You know, we know the certain ones can do exactly what we think they're going to do. And then we know others have massive potential. And Blake is certainly one of those. So I want to make it clear before Brandon starts asking questions that are newly related. There's nothing new about Blake. It's more just a positivity that anybody else is coming in. They should be motivated that he started quick. I guess I can too if I do the right things. All right, Brent, text him a little bit.
So Blake, I mean, we're not going to name your old brokerage or anything like that because we don't.
Yes, good.
Sure.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you.
But one thing that I'm curious to know is what was it about the SWR group that was intriguing to you, especially when I'm sure you knew that you had potential. You had a lot of potential inside of you already. So what was it that made you hang your hat here?
Really, honestly, it was just the fact that, you know, I met with Robert when I was, you know, going through the classes and everything, and then, you know, made the ultimate decision to try something else for a little while. And I mean, really, Robert kind of, you know, stuck with me and would, you know, check in on me from time to time, and would, you know, follow, you know, anytime I had any kind of transaction, he was always, you know, loving it on Facebook. And, you know, reached out a couple times and even said like, hey, you know, anything you need, any questions you have, you can still always ask me. And, you know, it just kind of said a lot about him that, you know, I wasn't even one of his guys, you know, put money in his pocket, but he was still there for support and stuff. And then I just kind of felt at one point that it was just kind of time to make the move, and just kind of sent him a text. And I was like, hey, I think it's time to make that phone call. And he was like, I've been waiting for this text. So
it was, that's true.
You know.
So Blake, it's funny. Brent's interviewing you. Brent, you should be taking notes as to what Blake said. Listen to the things that it triggered to him that were important. You should be doing the same thing. Which I know he is. You know, it's something that I appreciate that Blake said there too, because it's true. That's exactly what I do. And anybody who knows me would know this is a genuine statement. There are people who are watching that are like Blake that I do the same things with. That is completely genuine. Whether Blake ever came with me or not, it wouldn't matter. Even if it was 5 years down the road, I would still send him those, because I don't just send that to someone because I hope they come on. I actually send it because there was something that I thought was interesting between us, and it makes me want to continue to send those types of things. And he's also right about another thing too. When he sent me that is exactly what I said. I've been waiting for this text. I have been, because I truly am happy when I think someone's aligned with what's best for them. Most of my crew will tell you that there is a very good path between the relationship that we have together with them. We're not bringing them in, offering them something better or greater. And what we're offering them is the experience and the support and the friendship that they need, and a comfortability level that you won't find anywhere. Mentors are fine. You can go get mentors all you want. You go to a real estate company and have your list of mentors or anything. If that mentor is not 24/7 and where you're not comfortable calling them, then they're not a mentor. They're not a mentor in the least bit. Every one of my crew will tell you, when they pick up that phone or they text, they know good and well that they're not the least bit concerned about asking me something or Brent something. They'll do it immediately. They know I'm not going to roll my eyes. They know I'm not going to bitch about it. And the more so, they know I want to get it done ASAP for them. So I love how he said that, because it's an absolutely true statement on what we're trying to encourage as we build someone like him, because in the end, he's the one who benefits from this. He is the one who benefits from the comfortability that if he doesn't know, he asks, and he's very smart enough to know that he does ask the question, so he gets better and better what he does day to day. So,
Blake, can I ask you, how did you do it, right? Like, I mean, I know obviously we're not at the finish line, right? You're just getting going, but what did you do to get your business off to such a quick start? I mean, was it just sheer intimidation where you just threaten your clients that if they don't go with you, then you're going to beat them up? Or, I mean,
really, honestly, just, you know, kind of networking with my friends, and, you know, just kind of expressing to them that, you know, I wanted to take care of them and take care of their family and friends and referrals. Just kind of knowing a bunch of people, I think, is kind of played a big factor and helped. Obviously social media is a big one. Kind of just having a good support team around me. My wife, she does a lot of marketing for me. She's, fantastic at it. And I think that's kind of helped a lot. And really just the team I put around me, just kind of like all the way down to my lender. He's great. When I send him people, like they instantly feel comfortable with him. And I think it just kind of matters about the team you put around you. And my title people, they're, really good with helping people understand what's going on. So
all right, I want to stop him right there because he has so many things that I want to talk about right now. And I don't want him to overshadow his business partners. But I'm gonna tell you one thing he said too. We talked about having takeaways from the show. We were really big about you getting takeaways. Every time we do a show, we want there to be a takeaway. One of the biggest takeaways you're gonna get from Blake today, out of the many, is what he just said about his wife. His wife is involved with his career. Not only is she involved with it, she's motivated by it. She encourages him. She is out there beating the pavement down for him as well because she is supportive. And I'm going to tell you, the good ones, they have to have that type of partner with them that is able to do that with them. Because if they don't, they're always going to be here. If you want to look at it from a common sense standpoint, if the other spouse isn't involved, then that's 50% less of what they should have. Because that's 50% less of another person who's not helping them. All right. Now, I personally, get to see a lot of Blake's life through Facebook, which is where Facebook does have some advantages. So I haven't personally met his wife, but I can already tell you the way she is by the way she is on that Facebook. I don't have to meet her to know her level of support to him because it's like beyond 100%. Yeah, probably like it 1,000% because she's constantly preaching with him. She's constantly showing, and it's the messages that she focuses in on. She doesn't just do it all the time. She focuses in on the ones that she's like, hey, look, that's important. And she pushes it out. And I guarantee you there's no shortage of people who know her that now know Blake and that would use Blake because of it. That's a huge takeaway from today. Whether you're new or a veteran agent, but especially a new one, your spouses, your business partners, your close friends, they have to be involved and as motivated as you are. Because those are potential avenues for you to continue to do better. And then he opened up a whole nother where he started talking about his lender, his title company. Do you know how few people in the industry that are less than a year or two have that talk like that actually say, well, I have a title person or I have a lender. My guys alone are not that good at it. My guys alone are not that good. They go with the people I tell them to, but they don't refer to it like that. He's referring it to like that because he already has a plan in place. He already knows who he goes to. He already knows the one person he goes to for that, or the other person that he goes to for that. Those are other takeaways for a new agent watching the show today. He already has people set in place. He's not waiting for those to happen. He's already established them. I love that. Love that. Brent?
Yeah, I mean, and what you said about, having a spouse that's supportive is so true. I mean, I know Blake's wife's down at the Mercedes dealership right now, so that's why she's putting in the work to make sure she can get that.
I was just about to say we should have done this show after Christmas. She's gonna be looking for some more boxes under the tree now.
Right. What do you prefer more? Do you like listings or do you like working with buyers more, or do you have?
I kind of like them both. They both really have, their fun parts about them. I like going out and looking at houses. So I think having buyers is fun. But really, I think it's just the excitement for both parties. I think it's really fun to see buyers, buying their home or buying their first home or, whatever home it is, their forever home. I think it's fun to see their excitement. But on the flip side, I think it's fun to see sellers, not realizing that they were going to get quite as much for their home as what they did. So to kind of see their excitement, like, oh, wow, we've done really well. We've got X amount of dollars to do this now. I don't know, just kind of the excitement and people kind of, I don't know, it's kind of hard to say which one I like more.
Brent, we need to help him a little bit. So Blake is a product of a very good market right now. And the great thing is, when the market eventually goes down, which we don't see it anywhere in sight, but if it did, he would thrive in that market even better because of his empathy. But what
Yep.
makes me laugh about Blake, and it does show why he is still on the show today for new stuff. The listings. I love how you take the positive side of that. How great it is to see somebody's face when they're going to make what they're going to make. Now, Brent will tell you when he got started. That was
The other look.
Their impression was, "Good Lord, I want to kill you right now, or I want to shoot you, or slit your throat and bleed out," because it wasn't as pleasant as that. But here's the great part about Blake, of the many things. He thrives in either of those markets. He thrives on the one that's really good, but I promise you, even though he hasn't been in a bad one yet, he'd be very good there too, because he would say the right things. He knows exactly what to tell that person from a competent standpoint and a personal standpoint. I'm telling you, that's what it takes to be a good real estate agent. I say this all the time. You have, and especially when we're looking for real estate agents, you have over here the people agents, the bubbly, the hi, how are you? The social. Everybody wants to talk to that person because they're just great. And how can you have a negative experience? So that's a good real estate agent, okay? The problem with this one is they get walked over like a ton of bricks all the time, and like a doormat. People, if they start going after them, if they're hardcore with them, they shatter. So you have that one person over here, okay? Then you got the jerkweed. You got like the one that's smarter than anything, but just an absolute jerk. You don't want to even talk to this person because they're so bitter and spitting vinegar all the time. You talk with them. You love the smartness, but you don't love the attitude. What we want is the one that's right in the middle. We want the one that's personable, that's able to have conversations, be social, but they're also ones like, how about had enough of this? We've gone too far with this. This is way out of line. It's not professional. It's not smart. We need to do this. And that's what this type of guy, that's what this type of guy does. That's what we're looking for in an agent. And I say that because the way he just responded is living proof of it. He hasn't been in a bad market yet, but he knows that how to respond to either one of those. That's what we want in our real estate agents. That's what any broker wants in their real estate agent. They want one that has all of those components. There are some people that will tell you that I'm the nicest guy in the world. There are others that be like, my God, he is the worst person in the world. And the ones that say he is the worst are the ones that I had to lay it down on. And believe me, if I had to do it, it was for damn good reason. There is nobody that I get set off on where I did it just for the hell of it. I am not that type of person, but believe me, I've got it in me. And the fact that those people know that gives you a little bit of respect when you're out and about, knowing, especially in the real estate world where your reputation precedes you, they have to know that you're not some jerk, but they also have to know, I wouldn't go too far with that on him. He knows how far he's going to let. This is the guy that does that. That's the type of person we're looking for.
Yeah. Do we want to get into our sponsors now, or do we want to do that?
Yeah, do it now because I'm going to forget. So do it. We got about 10, 15 minutes.
Yep.
I'll do Martin, and then I want you to do our insurance over there. So we have two sponsors that we're always very grateful for on the show. Like I said at the beginning, we talk a lot about sponsorship on the show. We average anywhere from 500 to 1,000 viewers a week. The show's not watched live very often because it's hard, during lunchtime for people just to stop and say, oh, I'm going to watch the show. But we have a lot of archive watch. We have a lot of people that come through on the back end and say, that was a topic that we wanted to watch. And you'd be surprised how little we ask for in a sponsor and what they get for it. So the first sponsor we have is one of our home inspectors, Martin Cooley with BPG Inspections. Longtime partner with us. We give choices. We don't just say you have to use Martin, because we have to tell the general public that you can choose whoever you want to. But, we kind of egg them on a little bit, saying, look, we've never had one problem with this guy in all the years that we've had him. He's got a great bedside manner. He doesn't scare people. He tells it like it is and tells them what they probably should or should not do. We're very comfortable having him as a friend and a business partner. That's Martin Cooley with BPG Inspections. His number is 817-401-3240, right there at the bottom, 817-401-3240. He is part of the Fidelity family, and they're just a great guy, great sponsor. Martin, always appreciate everything that you do for us. Brent's going to talk about our second sponsor.
Yeah, so our second sponsor is Greg Holberg, who happens to be my father.
I was going to say no relation.
That's all right. He is with he's with Liberator Health Insurance, and Liberator Health Insurance has plans that allow you to see any doctor and to go to any hospital in or out of network. You can save 40 to 60% on your premiums. Liberator just insured a single mom with 2 kids with great benefits for under $330 per month. These plans offer the largest PPO provider network in the United States that covers hospitalizations and surgeries, doctor visits, preventative health screenings, teledoc, x-rays, MRIs, labs, emergency rooms, urgent care, and much more. As an independent broker agency, Liberator works with some of the best insurance carriers in the industry to get you the most coverage at an affordable monthly premium. For more information and to get a quick quote, call or text Greg Holdberg with the Independent Health Insurance Broker at 214-886-4688 or visit us at liberatorhealthinsurance.com.
Yeah, I'll give a personal response to Mr. Holdberg. It's hard to find good people in the world. It's hard to find competent people in the world. And he's got both of them. The living proof is the guy next to me. I make fun of Brent all the time, I give him a hard time, and he pretty much does the same to me. But there's nobody else I would rather running my firm. And I don't even like to, I almost don't like to say it's my firm as much as it is his too. And that's a product from Mr. Holdberg over there. So if the guy can make something like that, I'm pretty sure he can do pretty good with your insurance as well. So
I was a doctor.
Always appreciate having him as a sponsor too. All right, Brent, go ahead and finish up.
Yep.
Let's hit him with a few more.
Yeah. So yeah, we got a few minutes left. One thing that I'm sure everybody wants to know, Blake, what advice do you have for new agents that come in? Like we all enter the market at different times, different phases, and we all did different things. I was more of a slow start one. Robert, don't say anything. But what would you say to new agents or people that want to get into the business and they want to say, okay, I want to do what that guy did? What can they do?
Well, I would just, recommend that they, kind of do their homework when they're picking, their brokerage, and they join, the SWR group for sure. Of course, no. But no, I mean, really get comfortable with where you're at. And, I'm blessed to have you guys. I can really lean on y'all whenever I need. I'm also kind of fortunate. My stepmom is also like a rock star agent, and she's, really helped me along the way too. So that, I've definitely got to give some credit to her and the success that I've had. She's, been fantastic.
And Blake, I'm thankful for you to say that too, because we know that your relative is at another firm, and we are grateful to that particular person. I mean, you and I both discussed, it's hard to not necessarily be with family, and that's certainly not a reflection of them. I mean, and I'm going to tell you, just in case he's watching it all, there's nothing that he doesn't say how great you are to him. Nothing. He has never. I think it's harder for him just to switch than it was how much he appreciates your guidance. So that's actually a genuine statement too.
Yeah, she was great in the start and still is. I mean, I still ask her stuff all the time. So that's kind of been a little bit of luck that I've had there. So, but yeah, I would just recommend to really pick where you're going smartly and kind of do your research and your homework and be comfortable with it. So
I like that answer. I like it's very nonchalant, and then there's a lot of truth to the comfortability. I think some people make too much. They put too much stock in the I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that. You can get this and get that. If you don't execute it, you don't have the people that'll help you get there, it means nothing. Nothing at all. So I like comfortable is a very good word. Comfortable is a very good word. I mean, so look at Blake. Look at me. Look how we are right now. We don't have to have our suits on. We don't care whether we have our suits on. It doesn't reflect on the business that we do. We want to be just like anybody else out there that knows what they're doing when it comes to real estate. So there is something to be said about comfortable. If I wanted to be the persona that I'm supposed to be, I'd have this really ridiculously ritzy suit, and I'd have this ridiculous, I'm not like that. Never have been, never will. That's why I do push the smoker broker thing more than anything, because I want people to understand I am just as genuine as I come out there to be. I have had a lot of experience dealing with people in my life. I've been in executive careers. None of that means anything to me. I'm no different than anybody else, and I like it to be that way because I want it to be comfortable. I want them to go somewhere where they know they can get the answers and that they're thankful they can get those answers, and they're not scared about getting those answers. And that's why I love it. And that is why that smoker broker name is held very strong. It's not the fact that we just like it, even though it has a nice ring to it. We like it more the fact that it really does breed what we're trying to push here, and that is comfortability. So I loved how he said that. Love that comment. So
Blake, I have a question for you, and it's important to me. So, and maybe Robert and I need to come up with a different term aside part-time, because part-time kind of connotates that you're only spending a little bit of time. But what we mean when we say part-time is if you have another form of income besides real estate. And
right.
for a bunch of agents that are part-time, roughly how many hours a week do you think you actually spend doing?
So wait, I want to answer the term, and then I want him to answer what you just said, because the term, Keller actually does a really good job with that. They're the ones who corrected me on that. And I am bad about still saying part-time. The term is dual career. It's dual career, okay? Because it really is. And if you wanted to add something else, it would be dual. I guess we need to I guess the word we need to look for, Brent, is what is not career, but there's something else. Dual, like there's another business that they run, or they take care of. There's got to be something that's a dual whatever. That's the term that we need to use. It's right. It's really not part-time. And most people have ever heard me before know I would argue, especially being considered the expert in part-time real estate, I would argue that it's not so much whether there's a part-time agent. My argue is, where's the full-time agent?
Mm-hmm.
There's a select few that work 50 or 60 hours a week. The majority of them out there do not work a 40-hour week, yet they would say they're full-time. So it really becomes, it's a dual function, a dual functioning agent is probably a good word for it. Now I want him to answer, what is it that you feel, how many hours do you have to put in? Even if you have to really massively volume, how far do you really think you have to work 40 or so hours?
I would say yes. I think, I mean, yes and no. I mean, it kind of comes and goes. I mean, you might sit down and work for, 2 or 3 hours and then stop for 2 or 3 hours and then work 2 or 3 hours. It just, kind of depends on when you get phone calls and texts from people. I mean,
So Blake, you said something else I want to expand on there too, because I think you're answering in the way that I'm wanting you to, but it's a little different on your perspective. So let me correct something that I say. I tell everybody all the time, I only feel like I work 20 hours a week. Now, the fact is I work 80 hours a week, but it's what I do as work. There's plenty of times that I'm sitting there with the kids and handling some pretty bad issues, but I've done it for so long, I don't care. That doesn't bother me. And I enjoy doing it. So for me, unless I actually have to get dressed up and go somewhere, to me, that's work. But this type of stuff, when I'm doing the deals and all that, that's not work. Mm-hmm. So I love that you said that, because you're right. The hours probably are put in, but it's not the hours where you have to be somewhere at the exact same time all the time.
Yeah, face-to-face hours are pretty low. Yeah, like when you're out. But, I mean, it kind of, to me, almost never 100% stops. I mean, I can go out and do whatever I want. And, I might have to, pull over and send an email real quick, 5-10 minutes, or, take a phone call, or, have like a little 10-minute text conversation. So, but yeah, you're right. I mean, the actual, like, I've got to be here for, 5 hours. Like, that's just not really that, it's pretty non-existent. So,
look, anybody who's out there who's on the fence about agents, I'm going to tell everybody who's watching today that if they've got someone in their pipeline and they got them on the fence, you should tell them to watch this. You should tell them to watch this, because what he just said is a very true statement. It's not what you think. It's not the hours that you think. It's the flexibility. It is no doubt the greatest career to have with the greatest income potential, where you do not have to work X amount of hours to make that successful goal. It can be done. It's done all the time, even to do some of the highest volume agents. This is not some MLM. This is not some direct marketing push or whatever. This is a legitimate fact. It is a competent business that people look up to. If you're sick of corporate, if you're sick of working another job where someone has command of you, if you're sick of somebody telling you what to do, and you want your own hour, there's no better job in the world than this. And I will argue anybody till I'm blue in the face, if they want to come up and say, I got a better job, I'm like, no, you don't. I go, because if you do this one right, you can almost do it from your home and still make 6 figures at a minimum, and then just push up. So there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, I agree. And, one thing that's a little bit tricky about real estate, like Blake was saying, is we don't have set hours, which is a blessing, but it's also can be spread out, and sometimes it'll bleed into your personal life a little bit. And that's something as agents we have to get better at, right? So, you're sitting at a restaurant and then your wife's, staring laser beams in the side of your head as you're replying to 9 text messages. But that's just kind of, it comes with the territory. So if you look at, how much we really make per hour, though, it's better than a lawyer, really, if you're actually productive.
I've actually done the calculations. It is better than It is better than an attorney.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm biased towards it because it's a great career. It's the best one I've had, and I feel like I'm well versed in the fields that I've been in. I've seen plenty of different career fields, and I feel like I can speak from the corporate side versus the self-employment side. And to me, it's a win for anybody out there. Everyone can do it. They might not have the skin for it as far as being tough skin, but everybody can do it if they want. It's not that hard to get into it. And it really becomes a social relationship building with the people that you know. And as long as you know what you're doing, it can really build into something special. Y'all, make no mistake about it. The next time, well, I'm not going to say that because Blake will probably be on several times between them, but inside of the next year or two, watch when we bring Blake on. Just remember this episode and watch where he's at, and watch the fact that he's still working right now. And then you can tell me what you think about
He's going to have
whether it works or not.
golden diamond teeth next time you see him.
Yeah.
He might.
Wall.
Gold plates in there. Look, y'all, I want to tell everybody, I want to thank everybody for watching as well. I can't tell you how excited I was to bring Blake on. And Brent, a great suggestion that we finally step up and do this. This is probably, to me, one of the better and more personable shows, because we actually let someone come in and talk about the policies that we have in place, but how it affects them unscripted. And I loved it. So we're definitely going to be doing that again. Blake, really appreciate you. One, as just the person you are, the associate, but really the friendship more than anything. Because in the end, there's nobody who'd ever doubt. That's really more important to me than anything. Some of my top tiered agents would say that that's more concerning to me than whatever they generate. So thank you for being there. Thank you for doing the right thing.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being the agent that we want to be. Thank you for being the agent we want to be. And we'll definitely bring you back on again. Brent, thanks for your help as always, buddy. Couldn't do anything. Probably couldn't do it all without you. So thanks for all that, guys. Keep tuning in. Like I said, keep pressing the show on. Appreciate all the viewership. Y'all have a great. So I guess I just thought about this. We are not going to have a show next week for the obvious reason. It's Thanksgiving. So no show next week. It is Thanksgiving, right? Am I right?
Yeah, it is. I just thought you were making me work regardless.
I had to remember. Yeah, you'll be working. Yeah. I had to remember, but. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving. I know it's a tough one. I know it's probably the toughest one we've had in years, but look, make the best of it. We still can be around family. Just be smart about it. We will catch up with you the following week as we get to the end of November or early December, and we will start laying out our plans for what the new year looks like, trying to help you get ready for that. Y'all have a good one. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you.